done here. We've got a mess on the board, but I just want to catch you guys up. So we started with the definition of a strength, that it's talent times investment, specifically knowledge and skill. Knowledge is insight, self-awareness, and conceptual understanding of the field. And the skill is step-by-step actions that you practice to form habits and you perfect your technique. Okay, so that's the equation for strengths, which, by the way, the definition for strengths is consistent, near-perfect performance in a given activity. So what I'm trying to teach you is something I call strength thinking, which is, okay, a lot of people ask the question, I've taken StrengthsFinder, now what? What do I do with it? This is the big question. And so my current answer to that is you develop strength thinking. You learn to think about things in this way, where you say, all right, what is the activity I want to perfect? So we're using Nikhil's example. He said, I want to become more organized. We drilled a little deeper, and it meant better time management. We drilled a little deeper, what it meant is balance between schoolwork and social life. You're spending too much time doing schoolwork and not enough time having a social life. And then we finally just kind of translated it into this, the strength would be how to better estimate the time needed to do homework. That would be the strength to develop. So now, as the experiment goes, we want to plug it in to this formula, which I draw this way: talent, knowledge, skill. Talent being defined as naturally occurring patterns of feelings, thoughts, and behaviors that can be productively applied. The way I think about this, oh, by the way, so these are Nikhil's dominant themes of talent as determined by the StrengthsFinder. So we're going to use these. These are patterns that occur naturally within Nikhil. He doesn't have to think about it. He doesn't even have to work hard to do it. He can automatically think positively and see the upside in things. That's automatically, naturally occurring what he's going to do. He's going to have empathy. He's going to empathize with other people around him. He's going to be able to detect the emotions of people around him. He doesn't have to turn these on. They're already on. They're naturally occurring. They're energizing for him. They're effortless for him to do. They do not require a lot of energy. Connectedness would be another one where he can imagine and intuit the connections among all things and just sort of see the big picture. It comes to him as like an intuitive sense. I was talking with somebody that has connectedness as their number one. And I said, what happens when you're doing connecting? She's like, well, it's kind of like I step into a hologram. I'm not really here. Who else connectedness here? Besides Nikhil? Just, okay. So I step into a hologram, and it's like I project outwardly, and I can just see all and I don't even really see it. I just sense all the interconnections. Is this how this works for you guys? Okay, so this is what's happening. Developer, as we saw with our guest speaker today, was her number one. He loves to see the potential in other people and help nurture that potential into actual. And then he has communication. He loves to send and receive messages accurately. He likes to listen to people and make sure he understands them accurately. And when he has something to say, he wants to make sure other people hear it accurately. Would you say these describe you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we want to harness those towards this, to cultivating the strength to better estimate time needed to do homework. So the first thing we want to look at is the talents, these naturally occurring patterns. And the way I think of it is, there's like a river, and it's just naturally flowing. And the river's not going to flow the other way, and the river's not suddenly going to shift over and start going in a different direction. Maybe over time it will, but the water's just flowing. And if you wanted to try to turn that energy in another direction, it's going to take a lot of effort. So instead, what should you do with the flow of the river? Yeah, flow with it. Harness it. Harness that energy, because that river's naturally flowing. Set up your little water wheel or whatever you call those. Is that what's that? It's a mill. Okay, it's just a mill. It's not, I was going to say a water mill.
Yeah, it's a water mill.
Okay, a water mill. So you want to set up the water. You want to harness the energy that's already there, not change this, right? When you think of your top 5, are you ever really going to change the flow of that? If you have achiever, are you ever going to suddenly say, I don't care about getting things done anymore? If you have responsibility, are you suddenly going to say, I'm carefree to the world, I don't care about this anymore? It's not gonna happen. So you may as well harness them and learn how to not put them in a bad position. Don't put your water wheel, somewhere where it's not gonna work well. Put your water wheels where you're gonna harness it, okay? So, don't try to reverse the flow of the river. Don't wish that you didn't have these things, because they're harnessable, powerful, potential sources for productivity. Okay, so when you look at Nikhil's top 5, what rivers, these are 5 rivers, which rivers can be harnessed toward becoming better at estimating the time needed to do homework? And which ones might work against it? Let's take positivity number 1, because I think this might be one of the culprits. Positivity is this, how does that river affect his ability to estimate time? He's already going to be positive, he's already going to see the upside. What might that shape his ability to estimate time needed to do homework?
It's not going to take that long, that kind of thing.
He's going to think in his mind, oh, it won't take that long. I could do this. I got plenty of time. Do you see? You're nodding. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're optimistic. You're like, oh, I can get all this done in an hour, and then it's like, oh no, gosh, that was really optimistic.
3 hours later.
So what would be helpful here is to learn. If you want to harness your talents toward better time management, is just keep this one in check a little bit. Come up with your first estimate. Let your positivity estimate how much time it's going to take, and then interrogate it. Say, look, positivity, I know you're always seeing the upside of things. Based on your experience, how long will this really take? Well, I thought it would take an hour if everything went perfectly, but the truth is this will probably take 2 hours. So that would be one of the things you could do to manage your talents better toward your goal. Let's look at empathy or any of the other ones. Do you see any of the other ones that might affect his ability to estimate the time, either provide an advantage or maybe something he needs to manage a little better?
I think developer, he's trying to improve something that's not going well.
Yeah, you could use your developer to be patient with yourself and say, you know what? I'm not going to get perfect at this overnight, but let me set up some measurable kind of, what do you call these? Benchmarks or, milestones. That's the word I'm looking for. So I don't have to become perfect at this, but what would the next step of being a little better look like? Like, do you actually sit down and write out, okay, here's my list of homework, and then next to it write an estimate of time before you ever start doing it? No. Okay, like that, but that's something you could do, right?
Yeah.
It takes 2 minutes. I got this class homework, this class homework, this class. Okay, then, and you can even do this during the day. As you go through your classes and you're getting assignments, you just add on, just keep your list and say, all right, I got math homework, 45 minutes, And then by the time you get home, you'll have it all mapped out, how much time your homework will take. And this would be one little incremental step that you could develop for yourself, okay? Good. Any others that you see here?
I think communication, just because I have communication as well, and it's you're so engaged with talking to others, and you love the idea of talking about doing something. But for me, I don't know if this would apply to you too, but I can talk about doing it, but I can't. But sometimes I want to actually sit down and do it. So you get so distracted and talking about the idea of doing it, but you don't actually sit down and physically do it.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we can harness this one. See, maybe with your communication theme, something doesn't seem real until you've actually talked about it with somebody. It brings it to life more. And I wonder if you might have an accountability partner. Somebody that you actually talk through, here's what I want to get done, and then talk through the estimate of time and say, here's how long I think it'll take. And that other person might say, no, I think it's going to take you a lot less time or a lot more time. So you can use your communication that way. All right. Now the other thing too is if you knew your other themes, like your 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 themes, you might have some resources in there that you didn't know of that might help. You don't know if you have some execution themes. You don't have any executing themes in your top 5, but maybe you have achiever in there. Maybe you have focus in there. And you can learn to flex those a little stronger, maybe to move up in priority when it comes to this task. So this is the talent portion of the equation. Does that make sense? This is strength thinking. You would have your own different top 5, and you would apply the same kind of thinking. What themes would contribute to my desired goal for strength, and which ones might interfere with it? Okay, the next step is let's look at the knowledge needed in order to complement your talents. Let's say we've already did a thorough talking through that. Now, what knowledge can we add to that to help get here? What sort of knowledge, what kind of things would you need to know to become better at, or to be more knowledgeable, or to be, what kind of knowledge would you need to be more effective at estimating time for homework?
I think a lot of that is like a self-knowledge of like how long you take to do, like, if you know that you're not very good at math, like having that self-knowledge of like, oh, it's probably gonna take me 10 minutes per problem instead of just 5, like a lot of people would.
Great, so one of the knowledge pieces would be self-knowledge. What's been your pattern or history with this type of homework? Maybe you could start to kind of measure how long it takes you to do your math homework. Get after the first couple of weeks of the semester, you can get an average. And then your science, first couple of weeks of the semester, then you come with an average of how long it takes. And now you're gathering knowledge to help you be more effective. Good. What other kinds of knowledge could he learn or learn about to be more effective at estimating his time needed?
I think like understanding how much you actually understand like what homework you're gonna be doing, or like what homework you're gonna be doing. Because like I mean, if you like didn't understand it, so you were proactive and went and talked to your teacher about it, you know that hey, I have notes from class that I can use to help me do it. But if I didn't take notes from class, maybe it's gonna take me a lot longer because I'm gonna have to get them from someone else.
Yes. There's an article I read recently too that talked about how different students have different study techniques, and not all study techniques are created equal. So there's some techniques for studying that can make you way more efficient and allow you to learn and get as much done. So do some research on best practices for study habits. Like there are some things that say, you know, first of all, studying more does not equal studying better. There's certain things that you could do to prepare yourself better. And I never really learned what those were in school, but there were other kids in my school that they knew these things and they got better grades and spent less time doing it. So I think that might be another knowledge area that would lend to this. What skills would he need? What step-by-step sort of things would help him become better at estimating his time needed to do his work? Yeah.
Staying on task.
Yeah, so there's a skill of staying on task. And we know, jokingly, lovingly, that sometimes you're prone to distraction. Yeah. So I think somewhere in this knowledge and skill piece would be how to minimize distractions. Like I haven't tried it yet, but I got me a pair of these, air muffs that like drown out noise.
Well, they have those when you take your permit test.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, so they have them when you're on a firing range. You know, they have them when you're working in loud places, and so to tune out distractions. Another skill is something called the Pomodoro technique. Does anybody know the Pomodoro technique?
We talked about it.
Okay, so the Pomodoro technique is, you should just Google it or get on YouTube and watch a tutorial on it. Basically, the word Pomodoro means tomato in Italian because there's some timers that, like kitchen timers that are shaped like a tomato. But the whole idea is that you get a timer. Just get a simple timer, your smartphone would have it, or whatever, get a kitchen timer. And you set up 25-minute blocks. The idea being that 25 minutes is time that you can focus and you can do anything over 25 minutes. So, after 25 minutes, you might start to get distracted. But if you have 25 minutes and you're not allowed to do anything, like you're not allowed to go to the bathroom. I mean, you could hold it for 25 minutes if you had to. So 25 minutes is a stretch of time where the rule is you do your work for 25 minutes and then you get a 5-minute break. You can do whatever you want for 5 minutes, and you should. You shouldn't keep going, you should do it. So, basically what you have when you get home from school is maybe you get home at 5 and you have till 10 o'clock to do your homework. You basically have about 10 Pomodoros, 10 25-minute slots. Is that right? Am I doing my math right? And then 5-minute breaks, so 30 minutes, 5 hours, 10 Pomodoros. Now, you can estimate your schoolwork to say, I only need 6 Pomodoros to do my homework today. Now you have 4 Pomodoros to do whatever you want, do something social. So if you learn, you're now developing the skill of measuring. You know, I gave you a little bit of knowledge just now, and you can research it a little bit more. And then the practice of actually converting your homework into Pomodoros. And now you're using the Pomodoro technique. So that would be a skill that you practice. And you can make yourself focus for 25 minutes for anything. And then you get 5 minutes to do whatever you want. So someone texts you a message and you're in the middle of your Pomodoro, you're like, you know what? I only have 15 minutes left. I'll message them when I'm done. I'll have 5 minutes that I can do that. You know, and then you keep working. See? So now we're developing this troika, this triumvirate of tools to kind of develop the strength. And this is what I mean by strength thinking. And you can apply this to anything you want to get good at. Something in sports, something in music, something regarding cooking, a little hobby, you know, that you want to get started in. You can look at what talents do I have and how do I harness them and manage them, because there's some of the themes can be counterproductively applied, not always productively. So how do you manage them? What knowledge would I need to gather? What skills do I need to develop? And this is how you develop your strengths. Okay, a couple things real quick. If you don't have any talent to bring to bear to this equation, you will never turn it into a strength. You will never become excellent at something. Talent is the essential ingredient. Why? Because talent is what makes you get excited for things. Talent is basically you're naturally drawn to do things. Think of something you're naturally drawn to not do. Like you're naturally drawn, your natural tendency is I'm going to avoid that at all costs. That's a sign you don't have a talent for it. But if you're naturally drawn to it, like, yeah, I love organizing junk drawers. I love doing that, you know? Some people do. It's fun to give something, to clean something up. That means you're naturally drawn toward activities like that. You're naturally drawn to socialize. It's just naturally drawn to you. So you have talent for it. And now maybe you can even develop it even into more of a strength, to socialize with more strength. You're naturally drawn. You get energized by the activity. So if you don't get energized by an activity, if you get drained by an activity, that's a really good sign you don't have a strength for it. Does that make sense? You demonstrate glimpses of excellence. Like you naturally just do great results. Like you've never done it before. You're a first timer. Another thing is you think you can do it better than the person who taught you. Can do it better than the person who taught you. So if you've ever like gone to play a sport and the coach comes out and says, "Oh, here's how you kick a soccer ball," you know, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that guy."
Why would you kick it?
I don't know. I'm trying to give an example of somebody who doesn't kick a soccer ball very well, and you're like, "Oh, I can do it better than that." You know, that's just a sign that you have confidence there. You can do better than the person who taught you. All right. What else is another sign? Oh, the steps disappear. Who knows what I mean by that? The steps disappear.
Like it's not a checklist anymore.
Yeah. Like the first time you cook a recipe, you're like, all right, what does it say? All right, let me get this much. Is that a tablespoon? Okay. But then after you make the dish, like you don't even have to think about it. You just know, all right, I will do this, I throw this in there, that's good enough, and you know, and all the steps disappear. That's what that means. So these are signs of a talent that's present. So harness these. If you don't have a talent, you still may want to get good at it. You may not have the talent for this, and that's okay. Maybe your goal isn't to become excellent at this. Maybe your goal is to keep it from being a weakness. And you can manage a weakness with just knowledge and skills. You'll never love it. I don't think you'll ever love this, just knowing what I know about you. But it still might be worth learning to do. There's two types of weaknesses. Let me just end on this note, because Audrey's hands are probably getting really tired because there's two types of weaknesses. Type 1 is it will hurt you if you don't become good at it. And then the other type of weakness is it doesn't matter. Like here, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to confess to you that I am really, really bad at using a submarine periscope. You know, whenever I'm in a submarine, and then they're like, Adam, get on the periscope. And I'm like, all right. And I'm like, I don't see anything. Now, what kind of weakness is that? It doesn't matter because I'm never going in a submarine. I'm never going near water that's in over my shin. Basically, that's my rule.
Oh.
What? What?
I don't know if we want this on video.
Because it's weird?
No, I was gonna say.
Alright.
Say it like.
Whatever.
You told us this morning that you couldn't swim.
I can't swim. That's right. Oh, and you don't want it on video because you're like, if somebody wants to assassinate Adam and they saw this video.
No!
they're-
We're just looking out for. We thought you were.
It's embarrassing that I can't swim.
No, it's broadcast.
Is it I'm gonna broadcast that I can't swim? That's bad. You know what? There's a lot of people like me, and I'm doing a little PSA. If you can't swim, it's okay. You're still a nice person.
Okay.
It's not a skill though. It doesn't matter.
Because you don't want to
That's
go.
right. All right. So yeah, let me just stay on point. So yes, you don't have to be good at everything. In fact, it's impossible for you to get good at everything. So when you start to feel stressed out that you're not good at something, just ask yourself, will it hurt me if I'm not good at it? And then if yes, then you know what? You can develop knowledge and skill even if you don't have the talent. But if it doesn't matter, then don't worry about it. You don't have to become good at it. Just trade out with somebody that is good at it, or partner with them, or there's other things you could do. So I'm going to leave it there. You take a break, but wait, don't turn it off yet. Let's see if somebody else will hold the camera for a little bit, in case there's any
Oh.
questions.
Okay,
I don't
I'm really
know.
fine.
Are you really fine? All right, well, I'm just trying to... All right, anybody have any questions about any of this, or reflections or thoughts? Did this make sense?
Yeah, I like it. I like the mathematical.
So this is strength thinking, and you can do this anytime, any place, but no one ever teaches this to us. That's the main thing. Good. Other feedback or questions? Okay. Thank you.
I think it's good.